Hello and welcome to the Time Dishonored tradition of my top 10 games of the year. I hope you guys all had wonderful holidays going into 2026, braving the new paths that are unattainable, yet we crest high into the mountaintops of whatever this reality is, and we look down at our shoes and make sure they're tied, right? That's what life's all about, as my grandpa always said. So let's hop in first with our honorable mentions. This is usually when I do my honorable mentions. This is a game that didn't come out this year, but occupied kind of one of my favorite moments gaming. And without a doubt, this year, it was by far, without any competition, even more than any game that came out this year, was Street Fighter 6. This was a game that released a few years ago. We're in year 3 of it. And I'd always, I played a lot. I broke my ankle when I was in an 8th grade playing soccer. And that summer, basically, all I did was play guitar in Street Fighter 4. I think it has made me into the person I am today, being a professional musician. But also an avid fan of fighting games. And Street Fighter 6, after the kind of slow, painful death of Mortal Kombat 1, became kind of my main fighting game. It's, I think, one of the best fighting games, even with the problems I have with it. It's one of my favorite fighting games ever released. And I especially just wanted to get better at the fundamentals of fighting games. You can't go wrong with Street Fighter. It really will teach you how to get better at every fighting game to a certain extent, because it is so fundamental based. Now, there are things with Drive Rush where this one's a little wonky sometimes with how many plus frames you can get and how chaotic the offense can be, but I just love it so much. I went from basically now I was God rank in MK1, so I knew MK1 to a certain extent, but still how it was missing a lot of the fundamentals of fighting games because of the way Mortal Kombat is designed. And with Street Fighter, I started, seriously, almost as low as you can go, as silver rank back in July, and basically was, kind of learning with Ken, even though I didn't have a character I really loved yet or knew. I just didn't know enough about the game to really choose a main. But once Sagat came out, I ended up getting him up to master rank, and then was playing a lot of other characters, and now I've decided Terry Bogard because, as you'll see later, I really like the Fatal Fury series, and I've come to love that. And Terry in Street Fighter 6, I think it might be my favorite moveset of his. He has all the classic staples, but also the way his gameplay works within the Street Fighter framework. It's just a blast, and I actually just got him to master rank today, and now the real fun begins, as I learned with Sagat. So yeah, I picked him up about 2 weeks ago, and just fell in love with his moveset, and the way in which his combo routing works is just absolutely sick. His burn knuckle is such he has so much flair in his moveset, and the way he can combo into his supers. It's just his routing in general is pretty unique among the rest of the cast, and I really like him for that reason, even with his stubby normals. So now Street Fighter 6 is kind of the main game I played this year. I dipped my toes in lots of games and finished some, didn't finish others, but Street Fighter 6, it's been just so much fun diving into that game and learning it. And really trying to come to understand it, as well as because I've always watched all the fighting game events, your Evos, your Capcom Fighting Cup, your Mortal Kombat League, all that good stuff, Guilty Gear, Under Night. I have Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I love watching all fighting games, but really learning Street Fighter 6 has allowed me to jump in and kind of have fun in all of them now, just because the way Street Fighter footsies work. Although there are variations among different games, for the most part, it's kind of a universal understanding. It's made me better at everything when it comes to whether I just hop into a buddy that plays Guilty Gear. As long as I know a few soul combos or whatever, I can hold my ground because of Street Fighter. And also just playing a master is really fun. I learned that with Sagat, where my highest is up to, I got to almost 1600. I was 1590, so not great, but that was kind of my MR peak, and I've learned so much about the game, and now that I have a main that I really, really like with Terry, I'm just excited to, in 2026, just keep learning and trying to get better at Street Fighter. It's one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time, and especially since there's no other games coming out right now. The Avatar fighting game looks very fun, as does Marvel Tokon. I was in both the betas, and that was a blast too. We'll see how that goes. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the proper list. Number 10. Number 10 is a game that came out pretty recently, and it's to no surprise that it would make a top 10, is Arc Raiders. Now, I'm not really a live service kind of guy, But as far as moment-to-moment fun of just hopping with friends, this is such a good hangout game. Which it's funny, because I see Arc Raiders is actually a pretty relaxing multiplayer game. Because you want to get into some action, you can, but also you can just kind of like catch up. One of my best friends just had his first kid, and Arc Raiders is the perfect game to kind of hop into and just catch up on life. Maybe we're just getting some resources. Maybe we do get into some fights, but I know some people have been obsessed with like the grind, which I've never really cared about. Only fighting games do I care about that. But when it comes to like resources and all that kind of stuff, and whatever that is, when you can lose all of your progression and restart, I don't really care about that. For Arc Raiders, for shooters, will always be a casual, and I think this is one of the best games if you're just trying to hop in and catch up with some friends, but also have exciting things happen and systemic things happen with the way the robots act. It really sets up so many kind of, for lack of a better term, cinematic experiences where it does really feel like you're in some kind of like one of the best action movies you've seen, in a way that's cooler than Warzone too, because it just melds the PvP and PvE elements so effortlessly that it really just kind of begs you to have a good time, especially if you're not taking it too seriously, I think, which is kind of the key with Arc Raiders. I think that's why it's been so popular, because the sweats will always find something to complain about, but if you're just trying to have, enjoy some beautiful art design, talk with your buds, talk with some randos over prox chat, blast some bots, and maybe get into some scraps with some other players, I mean, you kind of can't go wrong. They kind of nailed it on every level. So that's my number 10. Number 9. This is an indie game called Herdling, where you play as a homeless shepherd boy, or not starting out as a shepherd, just a homeless boy in the city, and he meets this strange magical creature, and you end up, there's some kind of magical realism elements, and there's not any dialogue, and you start in the city, and then all of a sudden there's this vast mountainscape that you find more magical creatures, and you must herd them up the mountain. Now, this is by the same developers that made Far Changing Tides, which I've never played, but I've heard that the Far series is pretty great from a writing standpoint, an atmosphere and art standpoint. But I really loved Herdling specifically because of its soundtrack. As a composer myself, and as a fan of music of all types, Herdling has some of the most breathtaking and astonishing compositions I have heard in quite some time in all mediums, let it be film or recorded music. Herdling's, the way the composer utilizes woodwinds and brass is so just astonishingly beautiful. I mean, some of these melodies and chord changes are so hip, there's so much jazz theory in play, while also retaining this very organic and natural sound. So, the game itself is really carried by its aesthetic counterparts. No matter where you are in the world, as you're exploring and going up this mountain and solving light puzzle elements, it really is carried by this atmosphere. As far as a chill out game, this is kind of second to none if you're just trying to look to kind of just wind back and untap from the world and just experience some of the best music you've ever heard, and a really fantastic art style, and a touching, if nothing, not the most unique, but the story itself, or the very loose narrative that's carried by these visual and sonic elements, wrapped up in a really nice way. And I adore this soundtrack. Like, even if you don't play the game, please go listen and then buy this score, because it's one of the best things I've heard in a very, very long time, and is also packaged with a game I really loved. Number 8, Sword of the Sea. Now, this is the game by Giant Squid, who are the same devs that made Abzu, people roughly call them art games, but Sword of the Sea is the most game I think they've developed so far, besides the Pathless, which I guess is a little bit more action heavy. But if the art director, or the lead developer at Giant Squid, I believe, was the art director on Journey. So this is the first time they've kind of delved back into sand as an element, and Sword of the Sea has some of the best sand you've ever seen. You play as this skateboarding, surfboarding being on a sword of the sea, and there's visual moments in this game where the sand is clashing with waves in a way that I've just never seen water react in a game like this. and then also the wave-like patterns in the sand. Visually, it's pretty arresting, and I think what makes Sword of the Sea so great is I think the developers have nailed a really nice balance between aesthetic and gameplay, because the feel of moving on this surfboard-esque sword just feels fantastic. You unlock new tricks and new ways in which you can kind of traverse these areas, and it just has such kind of like this hypnotic, trance-like movement and control system that really just you get lost in the world while also having fun from a gameplay moment-to-moment perspective. You never feel like, you know, the movement is just in service of seeing more pretty landscapes. There's a really nice conversation between the two, and how your movement is impacted by the beauty you kind of are interacting with that the artist created. And what I loved about Sword of the Sea so much too is the change in biomes. Now when you get to near the end of the game, I don't want to spoil anything, but just visually there's some stuff that happens that I really haven't seen in any other game, and you know, it's just so fantastic all the way through, and just a joy. If you're this like Herdling, if you're looking for something to chill out to and just kind of take in just the work of incredible artists and programmers, and the score is fantastic too, then you can't go wrong with Sword of the Sea. Number 7, Ninja Gaiden 4. Now, the first Ninja Gaiden I played back when I was, I believe, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, probably a little young, but that's what made it so perfect, because I felt like I was playing something hidden, and you know, just with the pretty intense violence and action gameplay. I played Ninja Gaiden Black on the original Xbox at my cousin's house, and it just felt like I was looking into a world of digital media that, even if maybe I wasn't quite prepared for yet, I was thinking, wow, are all games this sick? When you get older, is this just every M game? Are they all Ninja Gaiden? In fact, there's only one Ninja Gaiden, and it's Ninja Gaiden. And as much as I love like Devil May Cry, and I've still never played Bayonetta, which I've heard is fantastic. I've played a little bit of the first one. The stylish action format, I think I just like the velocity of your character in Ninja Gaiden a bit more, and I've always really loved just the moment-to-moment gameplay. Now, obviously, 4 is co-developed with Platinum, and I think it doesn't feel too much like a Platinum game. I think they nailed it in kind of capturing the original feel of a little bit, you know, not as combo heavy, you know, earlier Ninja Gaidens, while also instilling it with new life and breath and a flashiness that is kind of second to none when it comes to Platinum games. And I still haven't beaten it, sadly, but I know I'm going to keep loving it. I'm playing it on hard, and it's a pretty tough one. So especially the purgatory areas, I'm stuck on one of those. And currently, but I will definitely, it's one I'm going to be getting through. And as far as the world design, it's nothing to write home about, but I also don't really care because the action's so good. That's why I'm here. I think now this could have been like game of the year for me if it also had really great level design. But it is what it is. I'm happy we have a new Ninja Gaiden, and still to this day, I can say, you know, to childhood Billy that, yeah, there's still nothing like Ninja Gaiden. You know, it's a special high octane, high velocity experience that just it's absolutely white knuckle, and you just feel the absolute violence of your blade cutting down these bozos throughout Neo Tokyo. So Ninja Gaiden 4 is great. Also good score as well. It serves the game quite well, and just how pounding it is in the action. So yeah, love Ninja Gaiden 4. Number 6, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Now, I know this topped a lot of people's Game of the Years. For me, just from a combat standpoint, it never reached the highs of, let's say, like definitely this game's biggest inspiration, Final Fantasy X. I think the parry system, while cool in concept, kind of eliminates some of the fun, like kind of build crafting that you have in the Final Fantasy games. But the story alone was really great, and I don't think it was, let's say, as amazing as I've heard everyone talking about it. I thought it was really fun and good, and the twist is kind of second to none. but also it never reached the highs of like a Final Fantasy game for me. And I'm a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series, and I really like Dragon Quest XI. And as far as RPGs designed in that spirit, it's cool we got another one. And what I hope most of Clair Obscur is that it inspires Square to kind of go back to maybe a turn-based kind of system for a mainline Final Fantasy, or continue on with a new mainline Final Fantasy in the ilk of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But, the music is great in Clair Obscur. There's so many incredible moments, and I think, it's just the reason it's not as high for me is can be overshadowed a little bit by what it's inspired by, right? Because it is, while not derivative, it absolutely does its own thing. It still is so standing on the backs of giants, where I couldn't stop thinking about the great moments in the Final Fantasy games while I was playing it. And just even in the old Final Fantasies, that Sakaguchi design of those late kind of combat gauntlets, I felt just Clair Obscur never matched that same intensity of decision making because of the parry system. But as a full package, it's without a doubt, you can't go wrong. I think it's definitely a must play, and it's why it's on my top 10. And I don't want to be too negative because it's my 6th favorite game of the year. However, it's an interesting thing when you play a game that wears its inspirations so strongly on its sleeve, but without enough being said of its shortcomings, where it gets it right with the music and the art and the story is enough where it's just a must-play RPG experience if you enjoy that genre of game. So I love Clair Obscur. Number 5, Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Now, the first Death Stranding I fell off of when it first came out, and I went back during COVID and played it again, and actually finished it. And instead of kind of falling off, I think the first time I played it, I fell off. By the time you got to the second city base thing, whatever those are called, the port city or whatever. And with Death Stranding 2, I ended up really loving Death Stranding 1. I instead of meeting my expectations or trying to appease my expectations of Hideo Kojima's games and the Metal Gear Solid series, I ended up meeting the game where it was and what its intentions were, and ended up having a really great time. Now, Death Stranding 2 kind of minimizes a lot of the things and let's say the friction points of the first game in a way I've seen some people criticize, but for myself personally, it actually created a nice middle point between the stealth action of a Metal Gear Solid and then also the very slow-paced kind of workings of Death Stranding. And the story of this alone was just so much fun and such a blast, and had so many kooky moments that it just was such a great time, and I loved exploring Australia. And graphically, there was just because there was so much more infrastructure and means of transportation in this game, I even felt more this idea of this connection of building things together. The most fun I've had in this game, even with all the crazy story moments, was just building the Intercontinental Highway. Was just felt so satisfying, and it was so much fun getting the pieces together and then just having this beautiful highway that you can get up on the mountain and just see all of your work and everyone's work together. And there's so many times you come out of a story sequence and there's 3 sections of a highway that you didn't have to build because other people put in the resources, and that kind of communal aspect made Death Stranding 2 just such a standout experience this year, without even mentioning just the really, really great vocal performances, as well as just a really, really interesting story that I would hate to spoil because you should be playing it. And Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is, I think, definitely a masterpiece and some of Hideo Kojima's best work. I think especially from a story standpoint, some of his best work as well. So play Death Stranding 2. It's a good time. Replace your expectations of Metal Gear Solid and just go in trying to work with whatever Kojima Productions was intending, and I think you'll have a really great time. Number 4, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Now, Fatal Fury was my first SNK game. Now, SNK was kind of the rival competitor fighting game developer, or the other biggest one in Japan compared to Capcom in the 90s. And since then, I've gone back, I've played Garou, Mark of the Wolves, I've been playing some King of Fighters, just getting a taste of the differences in SNK games. Now, the funny thing is, going into this, I was expecting, since I had been getting so much better at Street Fighter, I'd be like, oh, I'll be fine. And what people don't prepare you for always, unless you go on r/fighters on Reddit, is that SNK games play very, very differently. Now, if I hadn't played Street Fighter, I just would have been totally lost. But even with my kind of Street Fighter training, the way neutral works in SNK games, and specifically Fatal Fury, is so cool because it's so old school. I've been playing some Third Strike as well, and some Garu, and it's really, really cool the amount of defensive options you have. And although graphically and story-wise and production-wise, Fatal Fury City of the Wolves doesn't match the mark of so many other fighters out today, like Guilty Gear, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, from the visual department, the gameplay is so solid. And I think, honestly, if just the balancing was better, it could have been my number one. I really, really love this Fatal Fury, and especially just the way the characters control and feel. It always feels like you have an option, and then whenever you lose, it never ever feels like there wasn't anything you could do, at the level I play anyways. Now, I've known, there needs to be some balances with like Hokumataru and Hitaro, or Hikaru, because their movesets are just so overpowering, and that's definitely the pain points of this game. But I think with a good balance patch, that I almost said salad patch. A salad patch would be great too. We should put that in Fatal Fury. That this could be one of the best fighters out right now, and we'll see. I don't know if anyone will ever latch on. I think I checked last, I had like 300 people playing it, which is the fate of many a fighting game. But it is a damn good one. And if you like fighting games, then Fatal Fury is and if you like old school fighting games, it's kind of the one to play right now. If you miss your Garus, you miss your Third Strikes, it is the one most in that spirit, and for that I commend it. Number 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now, I played a little game called Oblivion when I was 10 years old, a few years after it came out, and I was 11 years old, and I have been searching for something that had matched that level of kind of immersion in an RPG ever since. Skyrim never matched it. None of the Fallout games matched it, because Oblivion had this kind of chill out nature to the world, where even though there were high stakes to the story and the main plot, it allowed you to really sit and breathe in its towns and its interesting citizens and their stories. And Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is the first game that's also matched that. And I think surpassed it in a way, which is really, really, really impressive. I was just so amazed and immersed in this world as I played through it, and all the characters you meet are so well written, and there's so many fun little side quests, and there's so many like almost immersive sim elements to how you can interact with the world, and people have their little schedules, and it also just looks so beautiful. And I love the character of Henry, and there is something that I've been craving in kind of this systems-based kind of Western RPG style that I haven't got since Oblivion, and it felt so cool to play a game that is kind of in that spirit, in a way that I loved the first Kingdom Come Deliverance, but this one really just surpassed it in every way for me. And I would love to do another playthrough, because I just love being in that world, whether it be smithing, going out and getting materials, or hunting deer, or just talking to citizens and doing weird little side quests. And the weird systemic moments are so much fun too. I had one where this dude thought I was the devil on the side of the road, and I could like do a speech check to convince him that I was, and there's just so many fun little moments like that. So as far as Western RPGs come, I just think there's no higher bar than Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and it's one of my favorite experiences I've had. And I can't wait to keep returning to that world again and again. And also, I will say, after playing Kingdom Come, although I want, Warhorse, the devs, to do whatever they would like, whatever inspires them for their next game, as I was playing this, there's still never been a great Lord of the Rings RPG, and I was like, these devs would crush it. They would be the ultimate developers for me. So if there would ever be another Lord of the Rings RPG, if they made it, I would lose my mind and go crazy and walk out in the street and sell all my belongings and jump into the river, because I would be so ecstatically happy. Number 2. We're moving to the beloved shit cam, because the XT4 ran out of battery, and I forgot to charge the other batteries, and I got places to do, people to see, and experiences to have on this January 1st. So, number 2, without further ado, is Silent Hill F. Now, last year was my first time playing a Silent Hill game. I played the Silent Hill 2 remake and just adored all of it. It was my game of the year last year. And then earlier this year, I played through Silent Hill 3 for the first time and also really enjoyed it. Loved it. The story of Heather, the places you go in that campaign was really, really fun. There were just some really cool, I loved the whole like amusement park area, and the mall had some really great like liminal spacey kind of areas and things of that matter. But I do prefer the more internal struggle of the protagonists in Silent Hill games versus the more of the cult aspects. Now, not to say Heather doesn't have a great story and is not an amazing character, because she's a fantastic protagonist, but I'm not a huge fan of the culty stuff as much as the more internal, cerebral, psychological things. And Silent Hill F is kind of fully that. You play as Hinako, a kind of a teenage girl who has some problems. You play as Hinako, a teenage girl who has some... Boo! Poop, 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 poop. You play as Hinako, a teenage girl in kind of rural Japan who has a lot of familial issues, and without spoiling anything, basically the town goes the way Silent Hill towns go. And I thought just the vocal performances, I played the game in Japanese, just the performances of the cast were just so stellar. And I really liked the kind of focus on melee combat. I know people had problems with it, saying there was too much of it, but with kind of Hinako's collapsing mindset, similar to how I liked the combat in 2, the kind of combat gauntlets at the end really felt in synthesis with where her character was unraveling at the seams. And we played through it, me, my brother, and my dad played through it on hard, and it is a fucking tough one. There's a little gauntlet at the end that was some of, maybe you could say, annoying, but I got very lucky. There's this one sequence that everyone's been complaining about that my brother died on, and then I beat it first try, and it was because some crawly dude got stuck in a corner, and I was able to heal and take him out one by one, and I got super lucky with it, but I ended up, I don't know, it still all worked for me. The annoyance, the problem points, I think it took us like 25 hours just because of how tough the bosses were on hard, and I just really dug that. I liked the combat-centric kind of attitude that this one had, and there's a moment halfway through the game that has one of my favorite twists in any game I've ever played. If you're a fan of the mystical, if you're a fan of the spirit world, there's something that so sick happens that's so anime as hell, but also terrifying because of what it represents to Hinako and her personal journey and how she feels about herself and how she feels the world feels about her as a woman in the 60s in Japan. That is just so fucking cool. And I've saw some people dog on the spirit world stuff, but personally for me, I think the best, what I love about Silent Hill, and I'm a relatively new fan, is how the characters' inner life and their perceptions of the world are mirrored on the town of Silent Hill. And so the spirit world stuff very much felt like her in conversation and in having tension with the kind of mystical rural ideas of womanhood and the spirit realm versus her very material life. And as a human being with a consciousness and as a person. And so Silent Hill F was just an incredible game all the way through. I liked all of it, even the annoying combat stuff. Give me more of it. Whatever this team makes, I want Silent Hill F2. I want these cool side stories. I would want them to do stuff all over the world, or another Japan-centric one. I thought it was fantastic. If you like horror games, you should definitely play Silent Hill F2. Without further ado, number 1, what could it be? Is it Battlefield 6? That could be. Or is it Call of Duty Black Ops 7? Is it Madden 26? No. It's a game that has all the sport of Madden, the wide open fields of Battlefield, and the intense moment-to-moment gameplay of Call of Duty. It is Bennett Foddy's Baby Steps, which I think is my favorite game of the year. I can't stop thinking about it. I've played through it twice already. I just adore everything about this game. I think the writing is very funny. I think the way it gamifies walking is something that I think Hideo Kojima could be inspired by. As much as I love Death Stranding and the walking mechanics, this game makes you think about the ambulatory system and the way you take steps. Where after I played and got to the end of this game, I literally, when I went to buy coffee, and as I was walking, I walked off a curb and I was thinking about how the human body is constantly balancing, and the way you're shifting your weight is just so amazing and miraculous. And this game gets to the core of it, as well as having some really wonderful, just kind of absurdist and existential moments that are deeply funny, and while also being kind of sad. And the way it ends is just this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful conclusion for Nate's kind of character arc and him accepting help and love, and it's just so perfect. I love every moment of this game. I even, down to the fact there's this section called the Man Breaker, which basically Nate has been resisting help this whole game. And as one character is like, well, I built these steps here, or you could go up the Man Breaker, which no one's ever done, or barely anyone's ever done. I forget. And it's this kind of, I believe, to get up to the top, it's about 20 to 25 minutes straight of stepping up this mountain. And it's so infuriating. But the one of my favorite parts is that if you get to the top, you do not get an achievement. You only get an achievement if you take the stairs. And so it's purely for yourself. And it's just such, especially with how many games nowadays rely on breadcrumbs and gotcha mechanics and random loot. Just the idea that the toughest thing in this game is just something you just do for yourself because you're walking for the sake of walking. And that is just so wonderful. It should be why you play video games. It's why you do anything in life. It's because you like doing it for the sake of the thing itself. It's why you make art. It's why you go for a walk. It's why you eat a nice dinner. It's for the sake of itself. It's not for some extraneous sense of reward or trophy or random legendary orange loot from the 100th time you fought a mini boss in Diablo. It is just because you like doing it. And it's really cool how you feel so much like a baby at the beginning of this game, and as you get better and better, you just become one with the mechanics, and then you're just zooming all over the place. And it's one I'll probably replay so many times. And if I think about like why I like games and what I love about games, Baby Steps embodies every single aspect of what I enjoy about video games as a medium, and interactive art as a medium, and digital interactive art especially. So Baby Steps, I think, is underappreciated, undersung, and should be remembered as one of the greats. And I just can't wait to see what Benny Foddy and crew cook up next, because I will be there day one, just like I was with Ape Out. And well, I never played, actually. I played a little bit of Getting Over It, but I loved Ape Out. But yeah, Baby Steps. What it also does is it, for the first time with that kind of like really frustrating ambulatory mechanics, also melds them with really cool open world art design, and also a really funny and sad and absurd story. So yeah, that's my game of the year, Baby Steps. Yeah, it's definitely the one I've thought about most, and I can't stop thinking about it, and just having enjoyed it so much. So that is my number one game of the year, Spilly Cave's number one. But we can also look into what's coming next year. You know, what's happening. Personally, for me, I'm most excited for Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. We still announced it back in July. We still haven't gotten anything. I feel like the Pepe Sylvia, Charlie from It's Always Sunny, because every event I'm like, are we gonna get a new character reveal? But I don't know. I played it. I really like it. It has problems, of course, but it's a beta. I'm sure ArcSys usually gets the games in a good place, even if it's not right at launch. It will be getting a good place, and I think the art's incredible, and it's so much fun that I had a blast in the betas. So Marvel Tokon, the Avatar Legends game, the fighting game, looks incredible. I love that it's 2D models. It's sprite based, which is sick. And yeah, it's just so like sick looking. It looks just like the show. And then of course Resident Evil 9. We got my man Leon Kennedy back. That's coming out in like a month and a half. I cannot wait to dive into that and roundhouse some chainsaw wielding assholes. So I hope you guys had a great 2025. Have a wonderful 2026. And just remember to be walking for the sake of walking. Okay? Rest easy, everybody. Happy New Year.